The
He's back to Vasquez. Count it! Freshman Queen who's driving, floats it. And here comes the message on the floor. With 2 seconds. Here it goes for the win.
What is up, Terps fans? Welcome into the post-game recap of Maryland's loss to Wisconsin. Apologies for this one not being live after the game. I know everybody was waiting up patiently to hear what I had to say about this one, but we're here now. So let's just talk about what it means. The 78-45 loss for the Terps is obviously bad, but I want to put it in context here a little bit for you. Jay Cotter on IMS had some really good stats and stuff and a good post-game recap. So I'm going to actually go through some of his things he pulled from this one and just break them down a little bit more for you here, but I would encourage you to go check out his writing up on the site. The Terps shoot 30% from the field overall in their 78-45 road loss to Wisconsin. If you are not a numbers guy, that is in fact quite bad. Obviously really tough to win a basketball game when you shoot 30% from the field, 29% from three, and 40% from the free throw line. They got there 5 times, made 2 of those attempts. Conversely, Wisconsin shoots 48% from the field, 42% from three, and 85% from the line on 13 attempts. Just everything about this one just was not good for the Terps here, right? The rebounds were close, I guess, which helps if you just miss a lot more shots than the other team, but Wisconsin finished with 36 rebounds, Maryland 35. On the offensive rebound side of things, Maryland had 11 to their 7, so that's encouraging, I suppose. Terps only had 10 turnovers in this one, and I say only, but that led to 16 points for Wisconsin. The Terps forced 3 turnovers and only get 3 points off turnovers, so you just can't lose that margin as badly as they're continuing to lose that margin. And the Terps had 5 turnovers in each half, and all 5 of them in the first half, I think, were like meaningfully impactful for this game getting off the rails here pretty quickly. Second chance points, Maryland beats them 9-8, so that's great. Love that. But bench points was really noticeable. The Terps basically have 6 players that are even remotely like Big Ten competent-ish level guys, and Wisconsin ends up with 39-10 advantage off the bench. Points in the paint, 26-16 in favor of Wisconsin. If you're a Maryland team that really can't shoot from the perimeter, you got to be able to finish around the rim, and they were just not able to do that tonight, which is definitely unfortunate. One of the sources of those points in the paint a lot recently had been Solomon Washington. He finishes 1 of 5 in this game, 2 points overall. 8 rebounds, though, was still active and still did some other good things. I didn't think it was his best defensive performance either, and we'll get a little more into the overall defense here. But just everything the Terps did other than that was bad. 15 assists to 9 in favor of Wisconsin. Like, that's not great. Wisconsin led for 36 minutes and 48 seconds. The rest of, 47 seconds, that was Maryland leading at the beginning. Otherwise, tied for a few minutes there, and then mostly just Wisconsin dominating the whole rest of the way here. So let's just go through a couple of the stats here. This is the 5th defeat for Maryland this year by 30 plus points, which is just kind of staggering to think about. But that's something Maryland had not done otherwise, in the post Gary Williams era. Like, we have our complaints about Turgeon and Willard in those down seasons, but those teams still did not get pummeled very frequently. Even the Gary Williams post-championship teams, when there were a couple down years, that just did not happen much. According to Jake, the Terps had suffered 5 such blowout losses 5 times this century, which is kind of crazy to think about. They've lost 15 conference games. It's the first time that's happened in program history. Obviously, they play more conference games now than ever before, but still 15 losses is pretty staggering. Most years for Maryland, you don't expect them to finish with 15 total losses, so losing 15 games in conference is just particularly sad to think about. This game was close for a little bit here, and then just kind of closing out the first half, Wisconsin made 4 of their last 5 shots. They ended up with a 34-21 lead going into halftime. They had no turnovers in the first half, which is their first time they've done it. So a supposedly aggressive, intense Maryland defense was not able to do anything with them. And then in the second half, they just came out even more energized. Started with an 11-0 run. John Blackwell hit a three to kind of put them up comfortably there. And they really didn't ever slow down, which is just kind of crazy. They went on another run after that. Ethan Rapp hit 3 threes in a row to give them a 20-point lead. They went on another 10-0 run in there. Nolan Winter had a nice putback at the rim. He ultimately goes down with an injury, so for Wisconsin's sake, hopefully he's okay. I continue to say the same things on this podcast, so I am very sorry for being a broken record. One of those things is hit the like button for us. We very much do appreciate that. But the other one is I just do not understand the reluctance or the unwillingness to even try different paces or tempos for how you play. Like, we have enough sample size now to know that playing glacially slow and never pushing in transition doesn't work for them. I do understand in theory the notion of if you slow down and limit the total amount of possessions, that's less opportunity for teams to kind of pull away from you. But when you're getting beat by 30 playing this slowly, it's pretty apparent that's not working for you. Maryland had 6 fast points per game coming into this game, and obviously that number will go down even a little bit here. That's bottom 1% in the country. So this team is least equipped of pretty much just about anyone in the Big Ten to hurt you in transition, which is just kind of crazy to me given the personnel that they have. Like, just running down this list, Darius Adams, I think, would thrive in transition as a big slithery ball handler who could actually probably get to the rim more if he were pushing. Andre Mills, built for transition. Solomon Washington, the way he finishes around the rim and is much more mobile than most of the bigs that are going to guard him, I think he'd be great in transition. Elijah Saunders is that trailing 3-man to kick it out to. Like, he'd be great at that. Even Colin Metcalf is just a rim runner. I think one of the things he's going to be able to give you, which he was fine in this one, by the way, 4 points, 8 rebounds in 25 minutes, far from the issue here overall, but you could maybe get him an extra bucket or two just by running the floor hard. Diggy Coit, he's got the size disadvantage in most matchups, so being able to be shifty and attack defenses that aren't set would be huge for him. Turkson, he's at least an athlete. There's something there. Maybe, again, hitting some trailing threes would be good for Watts. Del Pino, to me, gives you almost nothing as a creator in the half court because he just can't create an advantage. He did make a couple shots in this one. He goes 2 of 6 from 3. It was 2 of 8 from the field here overall. No assists, but no turnovers either. He's just fine given the options here, I think, at this point. But same thing, trailing in the break, his couple threes maybe, or maybe he could push against non-set defenders. Same with Alston. The roster just screams to me equipped to run, and they will not do it. B-Town Bones 21, Matt, maybe we're just tanking for the draft. I have made that joke so much my stomach hurts thinking about it. I'm right there with you. Like, it almost feels like, I don't know, they think there's some benefit to just like rolling over in a lot of these games here, and what the coaching staff is doing seems like a nice organic tank, like they've been watching the Wizards too much and learning from the local NBA team on how to lose without asking players to really roll over directly. But Maryland enters this game with the highest turnover percentage in the Big Ten, Big Ten teams in conference play. So being slow and judicious and patient, or whatever the terms are, the buzzisms that they think they're doing, it's not working for them in terms of ball security. And for a team that needs those advantages, it's just not working for them anyway. So they're still turning the ball over, and they're not forcing any turnovers. That's hurting you. At least if you played fast, you'd probably turn the ball over even more. But conversely, so would the other team. So maybe it'd be less of a disadvantage if you sped them up or got them out of their tempo and just played at a crazy, frenetic, helter-skelter pace. And again, already talked about this, but like, it's not helping your defense at all. Teams are shooting 37% from three-point range against you. That puts you in the bottom 21 nationally in 3-point defense. So you're one of the worst perimeter defensive teams in the country. You're turning it over a ton. So like, if all those things are bad for you, that should say this playing at this pace is not working. So again, I would go as fast as humanly possible and just get crazy sloppy, and maybe that rubs off on the other team, and you just hope it gets you some easier looks in the process. Maryland is shooting the lowest field goal percentage in the Big Ten, 40.8%, tied for the second fewest points per game at 70.7%. Again, shout out Jake for these. He's doing incredible work over at IMS, and so is Eli. So tune into those guys for their coverage. But Maryland reached the free throw line 5 times in this one, like I mentioned. They didn't make one until the end of this game. Like, that just does not work if your whole thing is about getting to the rim and getting advantages. Again, maybe in transition, guys would have to foul you a little bit more because you've put pressure on them. In the half court, they can just sag off of your entire roster, except basically Elijah Saunders right now, and just say, like, yeah, shoot it. We don't really care because you're not going to hurt us. I guess realistically, Mills, they have to guard at this point too, just the way he's been playing. And he hit some threes at the end of this one to kind of save his night from a stat perspective too. He finishes 5 of 12 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, 14 points, 3 rebounds. Just didn't do much in the first half there. He finishes with 12 of his points, all of his made threes in the second half, especially late. So it's just not, you have no threats. So I don't have to guard you as an opposing defense. It's just kind of nice to be like, cool, hands up, I'm chilling. David Coit is down to 33% from 3 on 6.5 attempts per game for the season. He's just been in a slump because it's, okay, cool, if we just don't let you hit step backs, or your step backs now have to come from 25 feet, that's such a tougher shot because considering how stagnant the rest of the offense is. Mills has basically been on a heater for a month, and he's just now up to 36% on the season, which is good. It's not elite, but it's good enough to make you a threat. He's shooting just under 5 attempts per game. Darius Adams, 4 attempts per game at 25%. Solomon Washington, 1.5 attempts per game, 23%. Saunders is the only one above 40%, which he came on this show before the season and said, I am a 40% three-point shooter. So he is living up to that. I'd like to see him get even more of those attempts, considering he's the only one that can make them. But 4 attempts per game, he's averaging 9 points and about 4.5 rebounds. So that's something. Rice doesn't play, so it doesn't matter that he shoots 34%. Watts was supposed to be a 3-and-D guard. He shoots under 27%. Delpino is at 33% on 1 attempt per game. Alston doesn't play enough and doesn't really make anything when he does at this point in his career. So it's just, you have nobody that can shoot, and they're shooting a lot and well against you, and you're not making anything. And again, it's an oversimplification, but 3 is more than 2. So it's like, got to find other ways to score and limit them from getting those 3-point shots. And Maryland is going the other way with it and trying to get teams to shoot threes and not get anything around the rim. And it's like, okay, you're daring them to hit things that they're hitting at elite percentage against you that you're not also making. So each of their baskets will be worth more than yours. Like, the math ain't mathing here with the way that they're trying to go about winning basketball games. Buzz has continued to talk about the free throw line. The Terps are the worst free throw shooting team in the Big Ten at 68%, and they've been below 17 attempts in 5 of their last 6 games. That's just not going to work. Making 68% of less than 17 attempts, you're not getting any advantage from the free throw line. This Badgers team is not good at defense. They've been a juggernaut slayer. They've been a David beating Goliath here in the conference, but they don't play great defense, and they want to play faster. They're 4th in the Big Ten in points per game at 76. Only one opponent since January, Ohio State, they held below 70 points, and no team had scored this low against Wisconsin. In fact, Maryland's 45 points. The second lowest is 55 points, which is incredible. Even their non-conference, low major teams scored more than 55 points against Wisconsin, and Maryland could only muster 45. Again, some of that is tempo, but let's say both teams had played at a tempo Wisconsin wanted to play, the game would have been 100 to, 58 or whatever the case would be. So, Like that's maybe the advantage of playing slow is you limit how embarrassing. So the losses are only 30 points when realistically the percentage point disparity is the same as it being beat by 50 if you were playing at a faster tempo. Elijah Saunders said after the game that they built a better foundation during their foundational February. So they were doing better last month than in January and December. Yeah, agreed. They do look better now than they did in December, but one, I still don't understand why we needed to wait to February to put the foundation in place for some of these things. And two, was it really that foundational? To me, that's transformative. You show real growth in those situations. It's like, well, we actually maybe just played an easier part of the Big Ten schedule. That could also be it. I've been asked a couple times why Darius Adams doesn't play. Well, when he does play, he doesn't guard anyone, and he doesn't value the basketball. It's the same reason that they phased Miles Rice out. Adams in this game is 1 of 7 from the field, 4 points, 0 of 2 from 3. He truly cannot shoot. 2 of 2 from the free throw line, which that's going to be the one thing he may do for you is get you a few free throws. So the leading free throw maker on the team, even though he plays 24 minutes just tonight in this one, or last night in that one. 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 turnovers, and just bad defense throughout. That's not going to work. Like, it's just not commensurate with, like, winning Big Ten basketball. And, again, I'm not a big Del Pino guy. I think best case, he's probably, like, a backup point guard for you, which is fine given, the price tag associated with it. I wouldn't mind having him back, but he's not even a good defender, in my opinion. He puts in effort, so he makes a few plays here and there. But that's enough to keep him on the floor for this coaching staff. And I mentioned Rice being phased out there. Presumably there's some kind of injury that prevents him from even getting off the bench, or they've just agreed to kind of quiet quit on the season together collectively. Not really sure what's going on there because it's a state secret. But he wasn't playing even when he was presumably fully healthy to do that. And I haven't done the research here, but I would presume he was the worst, like, addition in the Big Ten transfer portal additions, compared to expectations. Like, Maryland needed him to be a stud starting point guard, and he became unplayable per the coaching staff. So that's got to be one of the bigger busts in the portal here. Mills, again, is the bright spot of this stretch of basketball here. He also has to be better with the ball and value the basketball here. He only finished with 1 official turnover in this game, but it felt like the handle was really loose and there were some bobbles and things like that. And when he drives, it's a little bit of an adventure sometimes. I love the Euro steps to pick the ball up and hop it over guys. Like, that's cool. But he's definitely lost a couple of those so far this season. I've been a little underwhelmed by the defense. I think so much of that is team and structure, and when no one around you is guarding either, that definitely hurts. But given his tools, I think he should eventually profile as a positive defender. I think the awareness is really bad right now. He not only dies on screens, he seems shocked that they're coming on a pretty regular basis. And whenever I see that happen, I do wonder how much of that is lack of communication from the bigs. You need them to be calling those kinds of things out for you as well. But routinely, he gets caught or is surprised by a screen. It led to a top of the key 3 last night where he and Solomon Washington argued after Washington was kind of playing in the gap, not really seemingly making an effort to get to either side, and Mills dies on the screen and leaves a three-point shooter wide open. But he is carrying a heavy load on offense, so I think you can excuse a little bit of that, of like, he can't be your only point of attack guy and your leading scorer and all these other things. So it's just tough all across the board. So I'm not just picking on him. I'm saying it because he's one of the few guys I expect back next year, and if you want to turn this thing around, he cannot have this crazy high offensive usage where he's only valuable if he's on ball, and then also not playing defense at a high level. Like, he's got the potential to be a really good player. It's just there's just not there's not a lot else there around him either. So I think, to be fair, it was just bad defense overall. B-Town Bones 21 said in the chat they didn't close it on shooters at all last night. I would agree. And credit to Wisconsin, they were hitting a bunch of deep threes, especially early, to kind of break this thing open. But got to read the scouting report. Like, they got a bunch of dudes who can shoot it, and we left those better shooters open. a lot. So like whatever our shot chart says as a coaching staff, oh, we can live with deep 25-foot threes with, limited ball movement that leads to them, but they can hit them. So that can't be the game plan going into specific matchups here. And not everyone built their team the way you built your team. So these guys have shooters. So you've just got to know that with the way that you choose to play them. B-Town Bones 21 again. Saunders' body type just doesn't make sense to be an outside shooter, especially on a team that struggles to do anything in the paint. I'm not really sure I follow what his body type would have to do. A stretch big is a stretch big to me, and he is the best shooter on the team. So I want the guy who can make threes being the one to take them. I don't ever need to see Solomon Washington shoot another three. Like, just don't need to see it. I know it's not going to go in, and defenses want you to take it. Conversely, they don't want Saunders to be the one taking him because he's the most likely option to make them. So whether he's tall and slender or short and stocky, I don't care about the body type. Shoot, shoot, shoot if you can make them, because no one else can make them. I do agree with you that it does hurt them that nobody is collapsing the defense for him to lead to a lot of these threes. It was something they were doing a little better against the other dregs of the Big Ten, but not going to do that against a top handful Big Ten team like this, even one that's not like an elite defensive unit. So just a lot to be concerned about for this group here moving forward. The end is mercifully near. Maryland plays again on Saturday, right? I should know that. I will be at this game. The game is on Sunday, excuse me. Number 11, Wisconsin comes to town at 3 p.m. on Sunday, so I will see you all there. I'll be back in town finally to catch the end of that one. That is the end of the regular season. Maryland realistically probably plays the first game of the Big Ten tournament. That may be the end of it for them because there's the kind of coin flips against the other bottom Big Ten teams. Maybe they win one more. So at most, we're probably looking at maybe 3 more games left this season. In all likelihood, it's probably a better bet that there are only 2 left. And we'll just see how it goes. I think some of these guys just seem like they're at the point in the year where they're over it personally too. And I don't really blame them. But if you're the staff, the minute this regular season game ends, you prep for your one tournament game or whatever, and the minute that ends, it is portal. Everything portal related you can get to. Transfer. Like, I would just be exhaustively combing through every college basketball team in the country at the mid-major level where there are guys that you could maybe get on the cheap that you feel confident can contribute at the Big Ten level, because you just have to get Big Ten level contributors on this roster next year. And there's been some back and forth about Bobo Lototun and what he's doing, and having not played for Blake all year, but he is going to play in the Capital Classic, which is good to see him and Adama Tebadu out on the floor at the same time. Will be interesting. From what I know of that situation, Bobo did have an ankle injury. It did force him to miss an early part of the year, and I think they just made the decision that doesn't really help him to play public school basketball this year, which I don't know. I still think playing basketball games is helpful to get better at playing basketball games, but also not wanting to take the risk or whatever. That's also, I would imagine, Maryland's strong preference as well, just given what I know about those things in this situation. And but Baba's been working with a trainer the entire time, trying to improve his skills, trying to get stronger, put on weight, all those things. I do expect him to be a solid Big Ten contributor next year. I don't expect him to maybe look like an early lottery pick, one and done guy, but I think he'll be a competent member of this team and someone I trust more than pretty much everyone else on this current roster, other than maybe Mills. So that's great, but you do have to insulate him. You need players around him that he doesn't have to carry this crazy burden. He shouldn't be having to do what Mills is doing with this team right now as a freshman, whether redshirt freshman or not, trying to take on the entire burden of running the offense as a non-point guard, which is still kind of wild that this is where we ended up. But you put him around some shooters and some 3-and-D guys and a real point guard to help him and Mills out, and Pharrell Payne back, and a backup big and a Theo Edema, or whoever the case may be, then I expect him to have a productive season, because it's just not all on his shoulders. So we'll see how that looks, but I'm glad to see him wanting to play a basketball team against better competition. At the very least here. We'll be back for more coverage. I'll probably do a live post game from the Illinois game on Sunday evening. So we'll check you all then.